So the Qumran scrolls, or the Dead Sea Scrolls, is attributed to the Essenes.
Mhm.
How confident uh, is this link
Yeah,
between the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls?
yes, right. Um, so, so um, let me make clear. So there are two big kinds. So the site of Qumran, an archaeological site, is located near the northwest shore of the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea Scrolls are the remains of approximately 1,000 different scrolls that were found in 11 caves around Qumran. Many of those scrolls are copies of books of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament.
So the
Um,
Dead Sea Scrolls is a subset of the Qumran scrolls?
no, the Qumran scrolls are the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's
Okay.
okay. So actually, it's funny that you asked that. So Qumran scrolls are often popularly referred to as the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's very good that actually you refer to them as the Qumran scrolls, because by that what you're doing is you're indicating that these are in fact the scrolls associated with the site of Qumran, as opposed to ancient scrolls that were found at other sites around the Dead Sea that are not connected to Qumran. Um, but but because the Qumran scrolls have popularly been called the Dead Sea Scrolls ever since the first discoveries, uh, the name is kind of stuck. And so I still use the term Dead Sea Scrolls to refer to the Qumran scrolls, even though you could use that term to refer to other scrolls from other sites of other dates that are unconnected. The reason I continue to use the term Dead Sea Scrolls and not Qumran scrolls, as you are doing correctly, by the way, is that when you say Qumran scrolls, a lot of the general public have no idea what you're talking about. Right. So everybody's heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls. How many people know what you're talking about when you say the Qumran scrolls? Not everybody is as educated as you are about that, right? So anyway, no, seriously. But a lot of scholars do prefer to use the term Qumran scrolls for exactly that reason. But there are two big sort of debates, very broadly speaking, concerning Qumran on the one hand and the scrolls, the Qumran scrolls or Dead Sea Scrolls on the other, right? And one of those debates is the connection between the scrolls and the site of Qumran, because most scholars, myself included, believe that the scrolls were deposited in the nearby caves by the people who lived at Qumran, that there's a connection between the scrolls and the site. Some have argued that there is no connection. It's very easy, actually, to disprove that argument. But anyway, that's one of the arguments. If you believe, as I believe, and a majority of scholars believe, that the scrolls were deposited in the caves by the people who lived at Qumran, then you have to identify the members of that community that lived at Qumran as members of a Jewish sect, a sectarian group. Why? Because the nature of many of the scrolls is sectarian. Many of the scrolls are sectarian literature. So it's clear that they were associated with a group of Jews who belonged to a specific sect. The question is which sect? So many scholars, including myself, identify that sect with the Essenes, who are mentioned in some contemporary ancient sources like Josephus. The problem is, nowhere in the Dead Sea Scrolls is the word Essene ever mentioned, at least not by that name. And therefore, there are scholars who argue that the Qumran sect should not be identified as the Essenes, that there are differences between what we read in the Qumran scrolls and what we read about the Essenes in our outside sources like Josephus. They argue they're not Essenes, they're some other Jewish sect. I think it's possible actually to refute those arguments, but that is actually, a fairly legitimate debate among scholars.